When it comes to partnership, you need to find somebody that's going to complement you. I prefer being in partners with people that have a strength where I have a weakness, and I can offer the same to them also. Then we use those traits that we have together, and then we build it as one entity so that we can push our mission.
You are listening to On The Grind podcast. This is where we talk to different business owners about their entrepreneurship journey. Stay with us and learn how you can replicate their success in your business today. Welcome to On The Grind podcast, episode 6. I'm your host, Lebogang Kotsi. And today I'm talking to Nyakallo Mokoena, who is the founder of Mcofana coffee brand, which is taking over the industry one bean at a time. Nyakallo, welcome to the show and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, man, it's a pleasure to be on your show, hey, Laser.
Awesome.
Thanks for the opportunity, man.
Now, to kickstart our conversation, kindly tell us about your upbringing and your business background prior to Mcofana.
I grew up in Sasolburg. I've been doing some, a couple of servicing work in the marketing and sales department. I had a couple of businesses focusing on that primarily, also in some couple of graphic design work. I graduated, matriculated in Sasolburg, and then came to Johannesburg in around about 2011 to do my studies this side, which I did a course in project management.
Okay, and what inspired you to get into the coffee business?
It was more of I was more inspired over the fact that I wanted to do something different. It was not specifically going directly into the coffee business. I was more focused on trying to do something very different, start a brand that's going to connect with people, and also make people feel motivated and inspired into doing, different things and, breaking the boundaries. And basically all of those bottled up into one, go into the coffee industry, because I kept working on that, and then until I found, there's a big gap in the coffee industry that, not a lot of young entrepreneurs, specifically young black entrepreneurs, tap into. So yeah, I got inspired over the fact that not a lot of people are actually into it, and also it was something very different based on the location I was based in. I saw it as a big opportunity, to start something that's never been started, and and give people a different perspective on entrepreneurship.
And what does Mcofana mean, and how did you come up with the name?
Well, Mcofana, I would say it's a ghetto name for coffee. It's something that I believe that it becomes very, very easy for people to catch, and then the name is very catchy. So it came about when I was just sitting down with an old friend of mine, and I was trying to come up with a fancy name, and we accidentally said the name Mcofana in our conversation, and it actually stuck in my head, and the more I kept saying it, the more I actually started falling in love with it, and that's basically how it came about. It was not something that we had to brainstorm or something that it's just something that just accidentally came, but it also stuck, and yeah, it made sense for me to actually call the brand Mcofana after, because I wanted to, because the name represents where the brand comes from, where from a typical black young man from Ekasi, but it's just the name, that represents where we're from. But there's still a lot to do towards where the brand is going. So even when the brand is at the peak of its prime, it can still be in connect with where it came from,
Yes, and then the meaning behind your slogan, a cup of grind. What does that mean?
Well, a cup of grind, basically it means, because in ghetto, like Mcofana is a slang for coffee. So in slang, when we talk about grind, we mean that people are on the hustle. People wake up every single morning. They either go to school, go to work, or go pursue their business. It's something that people do to chase their dreams. So a cup of grind basically means that, when they say that, everyone drinks coffee in the morning, a cup of coffee takes away the grumpiness away. So every single morning when somebody grabs the cup of Mcofana, it's a cup of grind. It's something that will inspire them to push further on their grind. But also in coffee, as it also symbolizes the process of how we prepare our coffee, because we deal with specialty coffee. So what happens is we have to get green beans from, from your Eastern Africa, which is your
Okay.
100% Arabica coffee. So
Mm-hmm.
what happens is we get them as green beans, and then we have to roast them, and then after roasting them, we have to grind them so that they can be in powder-like form, which we then prepare from there. That's how we actually start making the coffee. So you see, the word grind actually means two ways, but it all boils up into the whole preparation of coffee, but also stands with the mission statement of the brand also.
What makes your coffee to stand out from other established coffee brands? I mean, we have a lot already in the market. What is your unique selling point?
Well, there is a lot of competition out there,
Mm.
but we, like I said, we more focused on inspiring people, and giving people hope that if they chase their dream, anything is possible. Like we have a concept where we say that our aim is not to inspire a million people in one way, but to inspire one person in a million ways. So we're doing all of that and then still be able to give people a cup of coffee. There's a lot of companies, yes, you're correct on that. And, I mean, if we all sit down and we all had to talk, besides, offering premium coffee, we offering coffee, but we need to offer something beyond just having a coffee. We want people to feel very, very welcome when they come to our store. I mean, we accommodate people that don't even drink coffee. There are people that because of health conditions they can't drink coffee, but when they can always come to our store and feel the same feeling that a person that came for coffee would feel. So our brand stands out in that unique selling point of being able to engage with our customers, and we're not just focusing on our customers only. We focusing on developing our the communities that we also based in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's we're pushing a brand basically. We're developing a brand. We're developing a brand that we're hoping or our aim is to see this brand exist longer than us.
Mm.
Yeah, carry on for generations and generations beyond that.
A legacy.
A legacy base, yeah.
And just to take you a little bit back, as I was doing my research, I realized that you opened a coffee shop in Sasolburg, but unfortunately, due to the small market, you had to close it down. But after that, you did go to local events in around Gauteng and Free State, selling your coffee. And tell us about that experience.
Well, the first time I started, because that's when I did the first shop, it was not basically a shop as such. I had a small kiosk just to test out market and
Okay.
to also, develop the brand and see if it's actually something viable, something that can work. So there's a big difference between having an idea on paper than to actually see it practically exist. So what I did in 2015 is I rented a small space inside a shop called Hawanda in Zambela. So I rented a space there where I was serving coffee, to people around there. So it opened there in June. I was open from June until mid-August there. But because of the lack of understanding or the knowledge, if I may say, that, in terms of coffee, the market was not there, and I was not actually making enough money to cover rent and pay salaries because I was not even full-time in the business by then. I had to employ people to do that. So I wasn't meeting the targets to actually make it sustainable. Plus, we were also approaching your summer season. So, coffee doesn't move a lot by then. So I was forced to actually shut the operation down, and which got me thinking, after that, I started thinking more about how far or where do I want to go with my personal life and, where I would like to see the brand go, which then led me to resigning later that year. That's when I did more research and I started finding out more what I can do. Because even last year I was prepared. When it hit summer, I was more prepared on what to do than I was in 2015. I mean, in 2016, I was able to launch a new menu, which was still accommodative as a brand also. Because we launched our iced coffee menu, and it was something unique because some people were not aware that you can actually drink cold coffee. And some people did not even know that there is like iced coffee and stuff like that. So that also gave the brand another appeal. Like, okay, these guys, whether it's hot or whether it's cold, they're still visible and they're still available for us,
Mm.
and that's basically what I learned from actually closing the first operation that we had.
Mm.
That's basically what I learned. Oh no, we need to find a way to keep the brand visible, even on the hottest day ever.
Yeah.
We still need to be open and we still need to be able to serve our customers. I mean, there are people that prefer coffee, even if it's hot. They want hot coffee on a hot day,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, so we needed to understand that and find a unique way and a better way of executing it, and doing it proper
Mm.
and professionally also.
This is on the Grand Podcast.
And you recently opened a shop in Maboneng in Johannesburg. How is it going up to so far?
Well, so far it's actually our second month right now, because it's actually our first Mcofana shop, so it's our flagship shop. This is basically it's our own shop, so we have to market our brand. We have to, offer every single thing that we always wanted to do. So there are quite some challenges to it because it's a new ball game for us. But based on the experience that me and my partner have, we're trying to combine our strengths, to make it work. And so far, people are actually, approaching, people are coming, and we're growing. It's just a matter of, creating brand loyalty. I mean, there's still those challenges, especially when you're dealing with brand. People wanna buy brands that they are more familiar with. So
yes.
yeah, so we're still dealing with that. Again, I mean, it's very easy for us to open up a shop this side and sell coffee, without any meaning to it. So, but we wanna develop relationships and loyalty stuff, So it's taking us a bit of a challenge, but we're getting there because the purpose is greater than us.
What is your short and long-term vision of Mcofana Coffee brand?
Basically, our short-term goal is to actually, get the first shop running, have it operational and have it, manage itself properly, which I can also say that we're planning on opening up 2 or 3 more before the end of the year. We want to open up other stores, not necessarily a big store. We're looking at opening at least 3 bars around South Africa, maybe another shop. So you see, those are our short-term goals. We're looking at least by the end of the year, we should at least employ about 20 people in Mcofana, part-time and full-time. And then our long-term goal basically is to actually own our own green farm, where we can actually produce our own coffee beans from ground. Instead of buying a green bean from a supplier, we would like to have our own farm. Yeah, that's our long-term goal, so that we can start packaging our product into shelves. One of our goals was to actually start packaging it for this year. So we'll probably launch something limited edition this year. But our long-term goal is to actually, own the whole chain supply, basically,
Yeah.
From where it's made to where it's packaged to where it's distributed.
Yeah.
I mean, the more we do that, the more jobs we create in South Africa.
And
Yeah.
you spoke a bit about your partner, and I just want to dwell a little bit on that. What would you
Okay.
say it is the importance of partnership in a business?
The most important thing about partnership is understanding, and you guys and sharing a vision, and understanding a vision. I mean, when you have partners, first thing you need to understand that we are human beings and we are dynamic. We've got our own personal, challenges and developments day and forth. We've got our own strengths and our own weaknesses. When it comes to partnership, you need to find somebody that's going to complement you. I prefer being in partners with people that, that have a strength where I have a weakness, and I
Yeah.
can offer the same to them also. But then we use those traits that we have together, and then we build it as one entity so that we can push our mission. I mean, certain people they get lost on their partnership because they don't understand the vision properly. So that's where people end up having been greedy. So we need to understand one another, but also understand that we are humans, and we all have our ups and downs. We all have our our challenges, our personal challenges and personal development.
Yeah.
So we just need to be aware of that. I mean, once you are aware of that as a team, I don't think there's anything that's gonna stop a team because that team will be very powerful. One of the things I like to tell myself is
Yeah.
that you are as weak as your strongest team. So if there's a weak person in your team, it means the whole team is weak. If there's a strong person in the team, that means that whole team is strong. Because then you guys need to be able to share everything together, the strengths, the weaknesses. You need to be able to see the opportunities, the threats. We don't have to see it the same way, but because you see it in a different perspective, and then we get to put it on a table, it gives us a lot of opportunities and a lot of, we see things differently personally. So once we put that on the table, we get to, weigh the options around those. And, that's what makes a team very strong.
Yes, and as an entrepreneur, how do you keep yourself focused and motivated?
It's firstly my surroundings. I always like to surround myself in areas that I believe that I can learn more. I don't like being in the same place for a very long time. I always like to get inspired, and sometimes you don't need to be inspired by successful people. Sometimes you can be inspired by somebody that's tried but never got to make it, because then you can learn from their mistakes also. So, I do a lot of I follow a lot of people that, are in the same field as I am. I follow big corporations, and, I always look at if these guys can do it this way, then we can also do it, but we just need to find our ways. I mean, yeah, I get inspired a lot about what's surrounding me, basically. I mean, if we can talk all night if I have to tell you how some of the ideas that Mcofana has actually thought of, the conditions that those ideas were thought of. Those moments are very inspiring. Some of the biggest ideas that we believe we came up with, came up unplanned.
Uh-huh.
You know, just be, but it was based on the environment that we were in. So those moments, they truly inspire me, and they truly motivate me. And also looking at people that push in life. People that chase out their dream, they motivate me a lot. Yeah.
There's a lot of people who want to start their businesses. Some are
Yeah.
working full time. Some they are still working and still pushing business on the side. What is your word of encouragement to those kind of people?
The most important thing about business, I think even Voice Tembukwa once said this, is that you need to start. As long as you start, that's it's the same thing as I said earlier, that, having an idea in your head or on paper, not the same as when you do it practical. Like, if the moment you start, you get to see where you do wrong and where you're doing right, and then you get to learn from that. So I would also advise people to start, and also I would advise people to be true to themselves. They need to, if you want to go into business or want to be an entrepreneur, you need to do that for the right reasons. It needs to be something that you believe in before somebody tells you that you need to believe in doing it. You need to tell yourself that you believe that you are destined to be an entrepreneur, or you want to be a businessman. Because trust me, this journey is not, it's not as easy as some people make it look like. It's really not easy. So once you have made peace with that, and you're doing it for the right reasons, whenever you meet these challenges, it won't bother you that much, because it will just keep you motivated. It will just keep you on your toes to keep pushing further, because you would understand why you're doing what you do.
In conclusion, for those who are not in the Johannesburg area, how do they stay in touch with you guys, with the Mcofana coffee brand?
Okay, they can follow us on our social media pages. We've got a page on Facebook as Mcofana. We're on Twitter as also Mcofana. And then on Insta is at Real Mcofana. We will be posting some of our, because we're going to be touring again this year.
Okay.
We're looking at coming back to Blom. We were at Blom last year, so we might come to Blom this year again, just now before June or late June, somewhere there. We're still working on our schedule for the year, on which areas we're gonna go to and all of that. But we will be on the road like we were last year. We're just gonna go extra, reach into places that we probably haven't been to. So people can stay on our social media pages for that information. And if people would like us to come to their conference, network sessions, or seminars, it's always important, it's always advisable that if they would like us to be there, they can just catch us on our social media, inbox us. We're more than interested. We would like to travel as many events this year than we did last year.
Nyakallo, I must say you are an inspiration to me, and thanks a lot for talking to us, and all the best with your business.
No, thank you very much, Lewu, and thanks to the listeners for tuning in.
Thanks for listening to On the Grind podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, kindly follow us on social media and join us next time for another great episode.